Stay. Whew. Excuse me, but I've had a nasty cough today. Must be some of that COVID stuff they have going around. It and I were made in the same factory after all. But never mind. What I was going to say was that I'm going to start reading you my fine piece of literature tonight, so please make yourself comfortable. I'm going to be reading you a daily dose of dad jokes, 365 truly terrible wisecracks. You've been warned. Anyways, without further ado, I'd say let's get right into it, shall we? Had a weird dream last night that I was a muffler. I woke up exhausted. There was a group of scallywags who traversed the globe on a ship, pirated other boats, and loved to go rock climbing. This nefarious clan of rogues waged war on the ocean blue, searched for buried treasure, and practiced tying knots. I'm telling you, they loved two things: finding bounty and scaling walls. They were the pirates of the Caribbean. Did you hear about that movie on abominable workouts? It was a total belly flop. When I was a teenager, I got my first computer. That led me down a road of buying more and more computers. In fact, I was hooked on computers. I tell you though, sometimes I miss that first gateway computer. Why can't you hear it when a pterodactyl goes to the bathroom? Because the P is silent. I just got the world's worst thesaurus. Not only is it terrible, it's also terrible. And terrible. What does a pepper do when it's angry? It gets jalapeno face. This graveyard looks crowded. People must be dying to get in here. A heel, an elbow, and a toe walk into a bar. They have a few drinks and then the heel says, "That's enough for me. I'll call a taxi." Eventually the elbow heads home too. The toe keeps drinking until finally the bartender says, "Hey, do you need a ride?" The toe responds, "Don't worry about me. I'll take a tow truck." Did you know gophers throw super hip exclusive parties? They're just really hard to get into because they're underground. I downloaded an app on my phone that makes the phone combust if someone takes a picture of themselves. It's called the selfie destruct button. Why couldn't the lifeguard save the hippie? The hippie was just too far out. Did you hear about the math student who's afraid of negative numbers? He'll stop at nothing to quit. A dad was talking to his son. The dad says, "Do you want to hear a Groundhog Day joke?" The son replies, "Yes." The dad then says, "Do you want to hear a Groundhog Day joke?" The son replies, "Yes." The dad then responds, "Do you want to hear a Groundhog Day joke?" The son answers, "I said yes." What do you call it when a crab replaces a batter? A pinch hitter. I told my actor friend to break a leg because he said he was trying to get cast. I bought a dictionary and when I got it home, I found out that all the pages were blank. I have no words to describe how angry I am. What's more useful than the invention of the first telephone? The second one. Why did the guy try to eat his email? All that spam. Scientists say humans swallow 8 spiders per year, so I like to get mine out of the way all at once. When I was in high school, my mom made me keep a box of candy in my car. She said it could be a real lifesaver. Why did the server bring the customer an iPhone charger? Because he asked for apple juice. I used to have this dog named Rex. Every day I'd put his leash on and take him for a walk. Then he died and now he's kind of a drag. A dad was talking to his son. The dad said, "Did you hear about the new movie on constipation?" The son answered no. The dad then replies that's because it never came out. I used to date this girl named Ruth. She made me happy, and when I was with her, I was always a better person. Then she dumped me, and now I'm ruthless. Two pickles were in love. One turned to the other and said, "You mean a great deal to me." Why was the superhero the one to flush the toilet? Because it was his duty. Let's take a minute to remember the boiled water. It will be missed. When I was visiting the White House, I noticed a framed puzzle hanging in the Oval Office. When I was admiring it, the president approached me and said, "Fantastic, really, really terrific. They say it couldn't be done, but I did it. I do the best puzzles, everyone says so. In this one, the box said 3 to 5 years, but it only took me 1 month." What's the easiest way to remember your wife's birthday? Forget it once. The kids couldn't see the new pirate movie because it was rated R. I've always struggled to eat Cobb salads. A couple of weeks ago, my stomach started giving me trouble, so I went to the doctor. He checked me out and he said he had some troubling news. "What?" I asked. "Well," the doctor said, "there's a piece of lettuce sticking out of your rear." "Okay," I said. "Is that bad?" The doctor only frowned and said, "That's just the tip of the iceberg." Don't ever serve lobster at your benefit. They're really so shellfish. Why did the grape buy guitars for all his friends? Because he wanted to jam. My email password was hacked again. That's the 5th time I've had to rename my dog. The Surgeon General says listening to too much Queen can be hazardous to your health. It's probably because of the high mercury content. If Disney made a movie about Mardi Gras, it would probably be called Beauty and the Beads. A guy went to see his therapist, who noticed the man's mood was lighter. The therapist asked, "Has anything changed in your life?" "Why, yes," the guy said. "I got fired from my job." "You got fired?" asked the therapist. "Why do you seem so happy?" "Well," the guy said, "I worked at a can crushing factory. It was so depressing. I got an email from Costco and it looked like they do mortgages now. The only problem is you need to buy about 30 houses." Why did the origami teacher quit his job? There was too much paperwork. A dad was talking to his son. The son asked, "Dad, are we pyromaniacs?" The dad only responds, "Yes, we are, son." My wife asked me to do some odd jobs. She gave me a list of 10, so I did 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. I'm on a nuts and berries diet. My kids drive me nuts, then I bury my emotions with food. A son noticed that his father's mail had ended up all over the yard and stuck to the exterior walls. When confronted by his son, the dad said, "You young people have no appreciation for snail mail." I really used to like my psychic, until I threw her a surprise party and it worked. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. I'm always on the edge of my seat when I'm at the circus. It's just so intense. Who is the coolest doctor at the hospital? Why, the hip doctor. I haven't owned a watch for I don't know how long. Why did Spider-Man go to the doctor? Because his spidey sense was tingling. A balloon was becoming a famous musical artist. She started her career at birthday parties, then began getting booked everywhere. One day, a big producer called her and asked her to sign an amazing record deal. She said, "I'm sorry, but I can't." "Why?" asked the music producer. "Well," the balloon said, "I'm afraid of going pop." Did you hear the joke about the time the mosquito landed on my leg? It was a real knee slapper. Why couldn't the vampire's wife sleep? because of his coffin. Why does the astronaut spend late nights on the computer? Because he's a fan of the spacebar. Did you hear about the dad who couldn't drive his kids and their friends underground? He had carpool tunnel syndrome. Which country's capital has the fastest growing population? Ireland. Every day it's doubling. Who stays out all night on St. Patrick's Day? Patio Furniture. A tortoise got into an accident. It was a turtle disaster. My coworker brought toast to the copy room because he heard the printer was jammed. I am so excited for spring that I might wet my plants. A judge went to the dentist and was feeling very nervous. When the dentist walked in, the judge demanded an oath. Do you swear to pull the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth? What did the time traveler do when she was still hungry after her meal? She went back 4 seconds. A dad was conversing with his son. The dad says, I do not trust trees. The son asks, why not? The dad only replies, there's something shady about them. Where might you get a haircut and hot dog? A barbecue. Want to hear a dirty joke? A dog jumped into a mud puddle. Want to hear a clean joke? A dog jumped into a bath. Knock, knock. Who is there? Norma Lee. Norma Lee who? Norma Lee, I have my key. Can you please let me in? I love to start my mornings on the beach. I say hello to the ocean, and it waves back. When I was in college, I used to be a pickpocket. I once stole a watch right off Dwayne Johnson, but he saw me. I took off running and he chased me down an alley. Unfortunately, it was a brick wall dead end. I turned around to see Dwayne closing in, and that was it. I was between the rock and a hard place. I don't know how to make a good cup of tea, but I'm trying my best. A dad was washing his car with his son until the son said, Dad, can you please just use a sponge? What do you call a pony with a sore throat? A little horse. Why are gas stations so excited on April 1st? Because it is April Fool's Day. Why is everyone so tired at the beginning of April? Because they just finished a 31-day march. My boss kicked me out of our weekly group meetings because I was making thunder noises every few minutes. I guess he doesn't appreciate how I brainstorm. Did you hear about the almond who ate vegetables, ran every morning, and took vitamins? He was a total health nut. I always found it a little counterproductive when a teacher would say, Don't get smart with me. What did one plate say to another? Dinner is on me. My wife started a business where she sells candles that don't smell like anything. The customer reaction has been poor. The candles don't make sense, so my wife doesn't make sense. Does that make sense? Why did the owner fire all the Williams in his office? Because he was tired of paying his bills. My daughter dropped an ice cube in the kitchen. She was pretty worried about it, but I said, Don't worry, honey. In a few minutes it will just be water under the fridge. A cat sits in jail with a camera phone. What is she doing? Taking selfies. Everyone has a favorite word. Mine is drool. It just rolls off the tongue. Knock, knock. Who is there? Pencil. Pencil who? Pencil fall down if you don't wear a belt. My grandma always supported my photography. Whenever I need something, boom, she's right there. I love my Instagram. What do you call a pile of kittens? A meountain. I thought it would be cool to have Velcro shoes, but it turns out they're just a ripoff. What was the Nacho's favorite dance? Salsa. What about the soda? Can. The rabbits. Hip hop. The trees. Swing. The robot vacuums. Roomba. What was the eyeball's least favorite dance? The polka. I don't like to talk about my pan pizza. It's personal. Why do monkeys' marriages never last? Because they're all swingers. My hipster girlfriend likes to take pictures of her coffee. She calls them mugshots. Did you hear about the hotel room with a living room and kitchen? It's pretty sweet. My wife came to me quite stressed. Honey, I'm worried about our daughter, she said. She's playing with sticks, pretending they're going on a date and falling in love. But then she lights their heads on fire. It's okay, I told her. She's just a matchmaker. The bank sent me a new credit card, claiming it had chip technology, but when I dunked it in French onion dip, it still tasted like plastic. Boiler alert. If you heat water on a stove for several minutes, it will bubble. What did the left eye say to the right eye? Between you and me, something smells. They should do another Harry Potter movie where Harry retires. They should call it Harry Potter and the Kidney Stones. My dad and I snuck up on several hundred rabbits, all munching on grass in a field. Then all of a sudden, one of them spotted me, and in a flash the rabbits all jumped into a single file line and hopped away. My dad yelled, "Now that's what I call a receding hairline." Why was the dog arrested? Because he was living the pug life. My son resisted puberty at first, but it's starting to grow on him. What kind of cheese surrounds a castle? Mozzarella. What do you call an elephant that doesn't matter? Irrelevant. I crashed my bread truck and it started a fire. Now, it's toast. What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. One scientist pointed to a cloning machine and said, "I don't understand how this thing works." The other scientist said, "That makes two of us." A farmer told me that he had a hen who could count her eggs every day. She was a mathema-chicken. I drank a bottle of food coloring yesterday. I died a little inside. Why don't ants get sick? They all have the right antibodies. When is a door not a door? When it's a jar. Always borrow money from a pessimist. They won't expect it back. Every year, Godzilla looks forward to Mothra's Day. What do you call someone who pretends to be Swedish? An artificial sweetener. I helped my dad install a new window in his living room. It was such a pain. The fact that our planet fully rotates in 24 hours really makes my day. There was a study that proved fast food chicken is only 50% chicken, which is not great if you want a chicken sandwich. But it's great if you're trying to quit chicken. Why are there so many pizza places in Chicago? They're all trying to get a piece of the pie. I once saw a man at the beach yelling, "Help! Shark!" Which to me is so strange. If I needed help, a shark would be a last thing I'd call for. A high-ranking officer approached a young soldier. The officer got right in the young soldier's face and said, "Soldier, I didn't see you at camouflage training this morning." The young soldier suppressed a smile and said, "Thank you, sir." What do you call a can opener that doesn't work? A can't opener. Want to hear a joke about paper? Never mind. It's terrible. Did you hear the one about the sheep? It's bad. What about the joke about the bread? It's pretty crummy. Knock, knock. Who is there? Chicken. Chicken who? Chicken your pockets if you can't find your wallet. What is the Nevada city that dentists love to visit the most? Las Vegas. How does Mom always know what the weather will be? She has a Your Mom meter. Two antennas got married on a roof. Everyone said the ceremony wasn't anything special, but the reception was fantastic. Why did the camera get sick from its meal? Too much raw footage. A jumper cable walked into a cafe. The barista looked at the cable, rolled his eyes, and said, "You again." The jumper cable shrugged. The barista said, "Okay, I'll get you a coffee. Just try not to start anything." I debated showing up to a pool party with six-pack abs or without working out at all. After a lot of consideration, I decided to go with my gut. I love chalkboards. They're remarkable. I knew this couple who met on a carousel. I think they're still going around together. A dad was conversing with his son. The dad said, "Be careful out there. It's raining cats and dogs." The son answered, "Okay, Dad." The dad said, "Seriously, it's dangerous. You could step in a pool." The past, present, and future walked into a bar. It was tense. Where did the general keep his armies? In his sleeves. What do you call two buddies who wear jackets with no sleeves? Best friends. I can't remember how boomerangs work. Hopefully, it will come back to me. Did you hear about the computer that showed up late for work? It had a hard drive. Installing mirrors is a job I could really see myself doing. Why did Humpty Dumpty have a great fall? To make up for his miserable summer. A guy went to the blood bank to donate blood. He asked the phlebotomist what type of blood he had. "Type A," the phlebotomist said. Said the guy. "On my medical record it said type B." The phlebotomist replied, "I see. Well, that must have been a type O." My wife texted me and told me to call her back. I wonder what back wants. What do you call a belt made of watches? A waste of time. When I work in the garden, it strains my eyes. I should really get some reading glasses. Did you hear about the two guys who stole a calendar? They each got 6 months. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles. I paid for a ceiling fan the other day, but it was just a total waste of money. He just stands there cheering. A bunch of novelists in my neighborhood hit a rough spot, so we had a writer's block party. What's the difference between a fancy man on a bicycle and a casual man on a tricycle? A tire. I don't like to toot my own horn, and that's why my trumpet business is struggling. What did the digital clock say to its mom? "Look, Ma, no hands." The waiter keeps asking me if I want a box for my leftovers, but I'd rather wrestle him for them. Why did the duck overheat? Because he was a firecracker. I love telling dad jokes. Sometimes he even laughs. Did you hear about the book on history of scratch and sniff stickers? It was a best smeller and it made a lot of sense. Order it today. With kids, you spend the first 2 years teaching them how to walk and talk. Then you spend the next 16 years how to keep quiet and sit down. Knock, knock. Who is there? A dad. A dad who? A dad who loves you. Aw, happy Father's Day, Dad. Thanks. Now open the door. I lost my keys. Did you know the first French fries weren't actually cooked in France? They were cooked in Greece. How do trees access the internet? They log in. What do you call them, miniature cattle? Portable. My dog likes to trick me when we're playing fetch. Whenever he's about to give me back the stick, he takes off running again. The vet warned me he's a Labrador deceiver. My doctor says I don't need to worry about the bird flu because it's tweetable. Maybe it's time we started telling Hot Chocolate she's also smart chocolate. Why are cheetahs terrible at hide and seek? Because they're always spotted. Why is the Scarecrow's confidence so high? Because he's constantly outstanding in his field. How often should you tell jokes about the elements? Periodically. Want to hear a joke about construction? Never mind. I'm still working on it. And now we have approached the halfway mark of this book. This is well over half a year's worth of dad jokes, and I hope I'm keeping you entertained so far. You may be pessimistic about the situation and believe that this book is half over, but I like to be more optimistic. We still have 184 more jokes to go. Taking his son to school, the dad began reversing the car down the driveway. The dad got a wistful look in his eye and stopped the car. "What's wrong?" asked his son. "Nothing," said the dad, then put the car in reverse again. This just takes me back. What did E.T.'s dad say when he finally returned home? "Where on earth have you been? Why are there no knock-knock jokes about democracy?" Because freedom rings. A guy without any experience applied for a job at a restaurant. The manager asked skeptically, "Why would you be good at this job?" The guy thought about it and said, "Well, I could bring a lot to the table." I'm worried about the math teacher holding graph paper. She's definitely plotting something. Where do you learn to make ice cream? Sunday school. Did you hear about the steps everyone couldn't stop looking at? It was a flight of stairs. What do you call a shoe made out of a banana? A slipper. What did the fisherman say to the magician? "Pick a cod, any cod." A dairy farmer made sure his cows were treated well. He let them roam on an enormous field where they grazed non-stop. He made sure that the cows were cool enough in the summer and warm enough in the winter. He even began singing to them at night. Once in a while, he would sneak out to the pasture and give the cows massages. The farmer's wife had enough. One night, when the farmer crept back into the house, she confronted them. "You need to stop treating those cows so well," she said. "Why?" asked the farmer. "Well," his wife said, "if you keep pampering those cows, you're going to get spoiled milk." How many apples grow on a tree? All of them. What did the modest stoplight say to the car? "Don't look, I'm changing." What is Forrest Gump's computer password? One, Forrest, one. Two parents saw that their child was covered in bumps, so they rushed her to the doctor. The doctor examined the child and said that there were a couple of ways to treat the ailment. "Whoa, whoa, whoa," the dad said, shaking his head. "Let's not make any rash decisions." Why don't you ever want to run in front of a car? Because you'll get tired. Why don't you ever want to run behind a car? Because you'll get exhausted. I could never figure out how to fasten my seatbelt, but then it clicked. Once when walking down the street, a man found a locket with a picture of a charming lady inside. He devoted his life to finding this woman, searching for years and years. When his friends asked him how he stayed hopeful, the man said, "I just really admire an independent woman." Why wasn't the sweet potato allowed in the band? He He wanted to have a yam session. I can never make reservations at the library. They're always completely booked. My wife enjoys it when I blow air on her when she's hot, but honestly, I'm not a fan. Did you hear old MacDonald's son joined the army? They call him E.I.G.I. Joe. A dad and his son were conversing. The dad says, "I do not like oyings." The kid replies, "What's an oying?" The dad answers, "This joke." Yesterday, a potted plant fell on my head. I only have my shelf to blame. Did you hear about the headphones that became friends? They were earbuds. Did you hear about the guy who was addicted to brake fluid? The good news is he could stop at any time. Knock, knock. Who's there? Broken pencil. Broken pencil who? Never mind. It's pointless. What is Beethoven's favorite fruit? Banana. Banana. I don't trust stairs. They're always so up and down. Why do ducks have feathers? To cover their butt quacks. A carton of milk and a bottle of ketchup were hanging out in the refrigerator. "Hey," the milk said to the ketchup. "Did you hear the rumor about the butter?" The ketchup was intrigued. "No. What happened?" The milk fought twice. "Well, if you haven't heard, maybe I shouldn't tell you." "Why not?" asked the ketchup. "Because I promised not to spread it." What did the drummer name his two daughters? Anna 1, Anna 2. If your house doesn't have numbers on it, that's something you need to address. I just burned 2,000 calories. It was easy. I just fell asleep with a batch of cookies in the oven. My dad thinks he's an optimist. He always says, "Cheer up, son. It could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water." I know he means well. Did you hear about the celebrity who accidentally glued himself to his autobiography? That's his story, and he's sticking to it. A pirate went to see a surgeon and said he wanted his spine removed. The surgeon asked him why he would ever want to have his spine removed. "Arg," said the pirate. "It's holding me back." You never see hippos hiding in trees. They must be really good at it. Did you hear about the optometrist who loved jokes? The cornea, the better. What did the mom spider say to her teen? You spend too much time on the web. How can you make the waterbed bouncier? Use spring water. A husband remodels the bathroom and finds his wife doesn't like it. He says to her, "Honey, we just need to let it sink in." My favorite time on a clock is 6:30, hands down. What do you call a guy with a rubber toe? Roberto. Why do bears have hairy coats? Fur protection. What word starts with E, ends with E, and only has one letter in it? Envelope. The other day I was making a sandwich and had just sliced a tomato in half when my daughter walked in and said, "No, what are you doing? I wanted whole tomatoes." "Don't worry," I said. "We have tomato paste." Do you know how heavy the sun is? Me neither, but it seems pretty light. I just found out that I'm colorblind. The diagnosis came totally out of the purple. My friend told me he's quitting his job to become a mime. I haven't heard from him since. A friend of mine asked his perpetual bachelor friend, "Why aren't you married?" The man replied, "Well, I dated a lot of people, but when I brought them home, my mother didn't like them." His friend thought for a moment and said, "I've got the perfect solution. Date someone who's just like your mother." A few months later, they met again, and the man's friend asked, "Did you find the right one?" The man frowned. "Yes, I found the perfect person, just like my mother. And my mother was very happy." The friend said, "Then what's the problem?" The man replied, "My father didn't like her." What rock group has 4 guys who don't sing? Mount Rushmore. I haven't bought a burial plot yet. Honestly, it's the last thing I need. My brother used to be addicted to the hokey pokey, but thankfully he got the treatment and turned himself around. Have you seen my box of vintage candy canes? They're in mint condition. How do you stop a charging bull? You take away its credit card. My best friend is like my hairline. We go way back. We've got a problem with the roof, but it's okay. I'm on top of it. How did the Romans cut their hair? With a pair of Caesars. For our anniversary, I ordered my wife a reversible jacket. I can't wait to see how it turns out. While we were on vacation in the mountains, Dad said, "Man, that's a big rock." I said, "Boulder." Dad stuck out his chest and shouted, "Man, that's a big rock." When I die, I want to go peacefully in my sleep like my grandfather did, not screaming and yelling like the guy in his passenger seat. Did you hear that the Hulk started recycling? He's really going green. The moon works really hard. It pulls all-nighters almost every night. Me, Dad, I'm hungry. Dad, hi hungry, I'm Dad. What's the difference between the United States and a flash drive? USA and USB. What's sad and doesn't weigh very much? Light blue. A construction worker handed a steamroller driver a wad of cash, which the steamroller driver didn't even count. Another construction worker asked the first construction worker, "How'd you know how much to pay him?" The worker replied, "Oh, it's easy. He charges a flat fee." What do you call an exploding monkey? A baboom. Whenever my best friends and I play hide and seek, it goes on for hours. Good friends are so hard to find. Did you hear about the sausage convention? It was the worst. Some nights I lie awake thinking about how our oceans are full of millions of jellyfish and not a single peanut butter fish. Do you want to hear a joke about dogs? Never mind. It's a little far-fetched. What's the distance from the curb to the front door of a suburban house? 1 yard. Picking your nose on an elevator is wrong on so many levels. Did you know there was no place to wash your hands on the Titanic? It was deemed unsinkable. I used to be against being an organ donor. Then I had a change of heart. When a mom ladder with a kid marries another ladder, what does that ladder become? A step ladder. A prisoner escapes from a prison. He tunnels underground for miles until he pops up in a random backyard where a kid is playing. The prisoner is so excited to be out of prison and see the sunlight. I'm free, he yells. The child looks at him, unimpressed. So what, the kid says. I'm 4. A canopy is the most snarky yard accessory. It's always throwing shade. Bro, do you want this pamphlet? Yeah, brochure. Giraffes can grow up to 15 feet, but most only have 4. Have you ever played golf on a submarine? It's subpar. What did the tree say to its branches in autumn? Leave me alone. I love having movie marathons with my dog. He never lets me miss anything if I have to get up. I just say, "Hey, pause it." What do you call a nose with no body? Nobody knows. You should have seen their wedding. It was so beautiful, even the cake was in tears. I just took my final exam to graduate from culinary school. It was a piece of cake. A guy looked in the closet and noticed the vacuum cleaner was missing. "Hey," he said to the wife, "I can't find the vacuum. Have you seen it?" The wife looked up from her book. "I got rid of it," she said. It was just gathering dust. What smells bad and sounds like a bell? Dung. Why should you be wary of a long-term relationship with a tennis player? Because love means nothing to them. Which shrubbery is the most political? President Bush. Parallel lines have so much in common. It's a bummer they'll never meet. Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, but no atmosphere. I just found out my toaster isn't waterproof. I'm shocked. Two friends walked out of a kitchen supply store. One friend showed the other that he had stolen something. Aren't you afraid of getting caught? The friend asked. The thief responded, this was just a risk I was willing to take. What did one hat say to the other? You stay here, I'll go on ahead. My partner left me because of my obsession with astrology. I should have seen the signs. Why is a room full of married people still considered empty? Because there isn't a single person in it. A pizza walks into a bar and orders a beer. The bartender says, sorry, we don't serve food here. What do you call a faux noodle? An impasta. What did one continental plate say to the other? Between you and me, I think that earthquake was our fault. Dad, I don't trust atoms. Daughter, why? Dad, they make everything up. What lies at the bottom of the ocean and worries? A nervous wreck. If at first you don't succeed, skydiving is probably not for you. What did the grape do when he got stepped on? He let out a little whine. How much money does a pirate pay for corn? A buccaneer. A three-legged dog staggered into a saloon and took a seat. The bartender asked, what brings you to town? The three-legged dog looked up and in a gruff voice replied, I'm looking for the man who shot my pa. Where did the United States get Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, and Arkansas? And a state said, if pigs could fly, no one would be eating chicken wings. A photo was put on trial for loitering on the wall. You don't understand, the photo pleaded. I was framed. Why was the stick of gum bent out of shape? It had just been chewed out. Did you hear about the coin factory machine that stopped working? It doesn't make any sense. I really like ham, but it'd be a shame if you put an S in front and E behind it. Why did the desk have to do laundry? It only had dirty drawers. Two old spuds were deeply in love. You are my sweet potato, one said. Yes, I am, the other replied. I'm so lazy, my favorite exercise is the diddly squat. What do you call seagulls who fly over the bay? Bagels. Knock knock. Who is there? Felix. Felix who? Feel exhausted. Let me in. Egg salad is just chicken salad made by someone with no patience. The best way to watch a fishing tournament is live stream. Why did the witches have to call a plumber? Double double, toilet trouble. Why don't skeletons ever go trick-or-treating? Because they have no body to go with. What's the leading cause of dry skin? Towels. Murphy's Law says that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Coleslaw is thinly sliced cabbage with a lot of mayonnaise. A father and a son were on a road trip when they saw a whole field of livestock. The dad pointed out the window and said, "Ooh, look, a flock of cows." The son shook his head. "Herd of cows," he corrected his father. "Herd of cows," the dad said. "Of course I've heard of cows. There's a whole flock of them right there." Statistically speaking, 6 out of 7 dwarves aren't happy. If you had 10 apples in one hand and 14 oranges in the other, what would you have? Really, really big hands. My wife said, "You weren't even listening, were you?" And I thought, that's a pretty weird way to start a conversation. Why are pediatricians always so frustrated? They have little patience. Adulthood is like losing your parents in the grocery store for the rest of your life. Son, Dad, have you seen my glasses? Dad, no, have you seen my dad glasses? A dad told his daughter not to get too excited about turning 32, since her birthday party would be so short. Why would it be short, the daughter asked. The dad grinned and said, because it's your 32nd birthday. You can tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile by paying attention to whether the animal will see you later or after a while. What do you call a dinosaur with an extensive vocabulary? A thesaurus. If you jump out of an airplane and your parachute doesn't deploy, you have the rest of your life to fix it. What did one crooked tooth say to the other? Brace yourself. With the rise of self-driving vehicles, eventually there will be a country song about how your truck left you, too. If you use your memory foam pillow in a pillow fight, that's a fight you'll never forget. What do you call the memory of a fart? Past gas. Two goldfish are in a tank. One says to the other, "Do you know how to drive this thing?" I can cut wood just by looking at it. It's true, I saw it with my own eyes. Why couldn't the keyboard get a hat out of its closet? The caps lock was on. If I had $1 for every time I got suspicious, I'd wonder who was paying me and why. Why couldn't the fisherman work out anymore? He pulled a muscle. A guy walked into a bar and said, "Ouch." As a parent, I'm like a cop. Whenever my kids fight against taking a nap, I tell them they're going to get more nap time added for resisting arrest. Have you heard about the new trend of corduroy pillows? They're making headlines. What smells the best at Thanksgiving dinner? Typically, it's your nose. My family asked me to stop making jokes about Thanksgiving leftovers, but I couldn't quit cold turkey. Did you hear about the cheese factory that was demolished? Nothing left but debris. I didn't want to believe that my father was stealing from his road construction job, but when I got home, all the signs were there. I love to stargaze, but whenever I do, I can't help but think Orion's belt is just a huge waste of space. What is a pigeon's favorite type of poem? A haiku. Two buckets were hanging out. One bucket said to the other, "Are you feeling sick?" The other replied, "No. Why?" The first bucket said, "You're a little pale." What do you call a snowman with a six-pack? The abdominal snowman. Did you see the snowman at the farmer's market looking at carrots? He was picking his nose. As I handed my dad his 70th birthday card, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "You know, one would have been enough." What do your dog and your phone have in common? They both have caller ID. Why did the old man fall in a deep, narrow pool of water? He couldn't see that well. A buttload of underwear is exactly one pair. If a cannibal shakes your hand, he considers you finger food. Son, will you hand me my bookmark? Dad, I know my name is Mark, but please call me Dad. What do you call a criminal who's being a jerk while he's walking down a flight of stairs? A condescending descending. As a scarecrow, I know my job isn't right for everyone, but hey, it's in my genes. I have an irrational fear of elevators, and I'll be taking steps to avoid them. Queen of England flew to the United States for a big meeting. Her plane landed early, so she asked her driver if she could take the car for a spin. She had never driven in America and wanted to give it a try. She was weaving in and out of her lane when suddenly a siren blared and a cop pulled her over. As soon as he saw the Queen, his eyes went wide and told her to hold tight. He ran back to his car radio. "Sheriff, I have a situation," he exclaimed. "I pulled over someone very important." "Is it the governor?" asked the sheriff. "No, sir. Bigger," the cop responded. "A movie star?" "No, sir. More important." "Well, who is it?" asked the sheriff. "Honestly," said the cop, "I'm not sure, but the Queen of England is his driver." I tried a page out of a vegan recipe book last night, and honestly, it just tasted like paper. Why did the waiter put a book under a table leg? The customer ordered a lean steak. 2 muffins were sitting in an oven. The first muffin turned to the second and said, "Boy, it sure is hot in here." And the second muffin thought, "Woo, a talking muffin." A nurse and a doctor were having a conversation. The nurse said, "Doctor, there's a patient who says he's invisible." The doctor only replies, "Well, tell him I can't see him right now." What do you do when you see a spaceman? Park your car, man. Why do melons have weddings? Because they can't elope. Why was the broom late for work? Because she swept in. If you're looking for a wise investment, buy a barn. It's a stable business. What do you call a group of whales playing killer music? An orchestra. A sunburnt man named Rudolph looked out the window, turned to his wife, and said, "It's going to rain." "How do you know?" she asked. "Because Rudolph the Red-Nosed rain, dear." I've got a friend who's obsessed with Santa helpers. He's so elf-centered. A man balanced on the shoulders of a couple vampires was caught stealing in a supermarket. He was charged with shoplifting on 2 counts. When you have a bladder infection, you're in trouble. How does the moon cut his hair? Eclipse it. I'm deathly allergic to bears. One bite, and it's straight to the emergency room for me. I'm a big fan of nostalgia, but it's not what it used to be. What did the director say at the end of her film about heroes? That's a wrap, people. And that was the end of our tale. It went by a lot quicker than I expected. The night is still so young, though, so how about I read to you another one? Perhaps I may read to you this one. The world's greatest dad jokes, 160 knee slappers and hokey pop.
Are you okay there? Consider yourself lucky. If I hadn't come to save you, you would have read another dad joke book, and you would have died of boredom. No need to thank me. Actually, maybe there is a way to thank me after all. I've had some serious trouble hooking up my sister with both Leon and Ethan, but you could work just as fine. So come on, and fuck my sister! Huh? What do you mean that's the funniest joke you've heard tonight? I'm serious.